Imagine two people. One looks exactly like what the internet tells us success should look like. They wake up early, track expenses, read market news, watch productivity videos, check investment apps, talk about growth, talk about discipline. Their life looks active. The second person looks almost careless. They work, save automatically, invest occasionally, ignore most financial headlines, go outside, sleep. If you watched them for a week, you would probably bet on the first person. Most people would, but 10 years later, there's a strange possibility. The second person quietly ends up wealthier. Not slightly, meaningfully. And that raises an uncomfortable question. What if some of the habits that quietly build millions don't look ambitious at all? What if they look lazy? Because we've built an entire culture around visible effort. Movement feels intelligent. Action feels responsible. Being busy feels important. But money has a strange habit. It doesn't always reward motion. Sometimes it rewards restraint. And that's difficult to accept because restraint doesn't feel productive while you're doing it. This matters more right now than most people realize. Because modern life has accidentally turned financial decision-making into entertainment. Open your phone. Somebody made money today. Somebody bought property. Somebody started a company. Somebody found a hidden investment. Somebody claims they retired at 30. Every story creates pressure. Move faster. Do more. Stay informed. Stay active. And slowly, people begin treating financial activity as progress. But activity and progress are not the same thing. Sometimes they are opposites. The first habit that looks lazy is waiting. Nobody likes waiting. Waiting feels passive. Waiting feels weak. Waiting feels like other people are moving ahead. But waiting has quietly created enormous amounts of wealth. Because money has one unusual characteristic. It grows differently from effort. If you exercise for a month, you see changes. If you study for a month, you see changes. But wealth? Wealth often hides progress. Imagine planting a tree. You water it every day. For months, nothing dramatic happens. Then, years later, people say, "Wow, that grew fast." No, you just weren't watching. Money works in a similar way. The hardest part isn't investing. The hardest part is surviving long enough for investment to matter. This is why some people constantly restart their progress. They invest, get nervous, change strategy, react, optimize, start again. It feels intelligent, but hidden underneath all that movement is friction. Every change costs time. Every interruption delays growth. Meanwhile, somebody else quietly keeps going. No excitement, no drama, and eventually the difference becomes impossible to ignore. The uncomfortable reality is this: compounding rarely feels rewarding in real time. It feels boring. That's why so few people fully benefit from it. Not because they lack information, because they dislike waiting. Now here's another habit that looks lazy: protecting attention. Attention sounds unrelated to money, until you realize attention determines almost every financial decision. Think about how many things ask for your attention every day. News, ads, notifications, investment opinions, market updates. Everyone wants urgency. Everyone wants reaction. Because reaction creates engagement. And engagement creates money. Sometimes not for you, for somebody else. The strange thing about attention is that people treat it casually. People protect their wallets, but they give away their attention for free. And attention is what shapes spending. Spending shapes saving. Saving shapes investing, which means attention quietly shapes wealth. Some people who build wealth seem slow. They don't respond instantly. They don't consume endlessly. They disappear. From the outside, it looks lazy, but they're protecting concentration. And concentration compounds. A distracted person keeps starting. A focused person keeps building. There's a quiet joke hidden in modern economics. People spend hours researching investments, then buy random things because they're tired. Which brings us to another habit: Reducing decisions. This one sounds almost too simple. Most people think successful people make thousands of brilliant choices, but often they reduce unnecessary choices. Think about how exhausting money can become. Should I save? Should I invest? Should I wait? Should I spend? Should I change plans? The more decisions you make, the more emotion enters, and emotion is expensive. Imagine somebody removes those decisions. Automatic transfers, automatic investing, simple systems. Now, instead of choosing every month, they follow a process. That sounds boring. It sounds lazy. But systems quietly outperform motivation because motivation changes every day. Systems don't care. There's a reason airlines use checklists. Hospitals use procedures. Businesses create systems. Good systems reduce mistakes. Financial systems do the same thing. The goal isn't becoming perfectly disciplined. The goal is creating a life that needs less discipline. Now we reach the habit people hate hearing. Ignoring urgency. Urgency feels important. Urgency feels like intelligence. Urgency creates adrenaline, and adrenaline feels productive. But urgency has an interesting side effect. It shrinks time. Everything becomes immediate. Move now, buy now, act now, decide now. But wealth often behaves differently. Wealth expands time. People who quietly build wealth ask strange questions. Will this matter next year? What problem am I solving? Am I reacting or thinking? That tiny pause changes outcomes because most financial mistakes don't happen from lack of knowledge. They happen from compressed time. People know better. They just feel pressure. Pressure creates shortcuts. Shortcuts create regret, and regret creates another cycle of urgency. Meanwhile, somebody else quietly waits. Again, lazy, but effective. Then comes lifestyle inflation, possibly the most socially accepted wealth destroyer. Imagine somebody doubles their income. Exciting. But something else happens. Life expands. Better apartment, better subscriptions, more upgrades. Nothing outrageous, just a slightly more expensive version of normal. Years pass. Income increased. Freedom didn't. This is where things become strange. People assume wealth means spending more, but wealth often means needing less. Not because wealthy people hate spending, because they value options. Every fixed expense buys future obligations. Every obligation reduces flexibility, and flexibility is invisible until life changes. That's why some financially strong people don't look impressive. They're not maximizing appearance. They're maximizing optionality. From outside, looks ordinary. Inside, extremely powerful. Now for the habit that may look the laziest of all. Stopping. Modern culture celebrates endless effort. Work harder. Push further. Stay busy. But output doesn't increase forever. At some point, more effort produces less value. Some people quietly become wealthy because they recover better. They rest, think, step away, then return focused. This looks irresponsible to people addicted to visible work, but energy compounds too. And exhausted people make expensive decisions. There's irony here. People sacrifice health to make money, then spend money trying to repair health. Sometimes slowing down isn't avoidance. Sometimes it's optimization. Now zoom out. All of these habits have something in common. Waiting, protecting attention, reducing decisions, ignoring urgency, avoiding lifestyle inflation, stopping. They all look inactive. That's the strange pattern, because wealth doesn't always reward visible effort. It often rewards consistency, and consistency isn't dramatic. Nobody celebrates year 4 of doing the same sensible thing. Nobody posts, "Today, I remained patient. Today, I avoided unnecessary expenses. Today, I did nothing." But that's often where financial outcomes are quietly built. And maybe that's why so many people misunderstand wealth. They imagine a breakthrough, a secret, a moment. When often, it's a sequence of ordinary choices repeated without interruption.